Herkese merhaba arkadaşlar. Eğer geçen yüklediğim eski Miles Rant videomu izlediyseniz olayı biliyorsunuz. Şu an YouTube'u ilk denediğim zamandan eski İngilizce videolarımı bu kanala yüklüyorum. Eğer YouTube'daki ilk cringe dolu adımlarımı merak ediyorsanız izlemeye devam edin. Bu videoda Amazing Spider-Man çizgi roman serisinin ilk 200 sayısına inceleme yapmıştım. Bakalım neler söylemişim.
Hey guys, Styles is here, and here's my first edited video with my voice in it. If you haven't guessed from the channel banner and pic, I am in fact a Spider-Man fan. Yes, I love the movies, TV shows and the games, but for me comics always has been the best Spidey content for me. Mainly because the writers can plan and create a long and fleshed out story without worrying how much time it'll take to tell. Most of the time. I read the whole Ultimate Spider-Man series 5 or 6 times and read the main series from issues 500 or so to the most recent ones and a couple of big popular story arcs. But I never read it from start to the finish. You can probably guess why. It is a long series with a bunch of writers coming in and going out, with a bunch of tie-ins that will leave you confused if you don't read them, and to sum it up, a 50-year-long history. But this summer, with Insomniac releasing their new Spider-Man game footage at E3 and Homecoming releasing in theaters, I finally had the hype to start this long-ass journey. And I have finally finished it. Well, the first 200 issues at least. I'm reading only the main issues, no tie-ins unless I need to, and no annual issue unless it is an important one. I am sure I'll have to read 50 to 60 issues of tie-ins, since the later stories look like they'll continue throughout different series. But anyways, I'm happy to tell that the first 200 issues are easy to follow. First of all, I want to tell the main reason I am reading this series and why I'm into Spider-Man in general. It is Peter's life. The action is fine and all, but the real fun factor of the series comes from Peter trying to balance his life by both being Spider-Man and a normal dude. And the interaction and growth of the characters is really fun to read about. Okay, so let's start with a down on the series, because why not? This might not bother some people, but it sure bothered me. This is not mainly the problem of the series, but all the early comic book series' problem. People love to point out the obvious in this series. I mean, come on! In every action scene, participants need to explain the reader what attack they are doing, what they are thinking, and what is happening. Another downside is that there's a bunch of filler. That was expected since there's more than 700 issues in this series, so I can't be too harsh. Some issues will not feel as big as, let's say, the night that Gwen Stacy dies, since it is one of the more popular issues. But the good thing is that even if you don't care about the villain of the week, the great supporting characters and the dual life of Peter is still there to keep you satisfied. The more popular villains that are well received by the fans will be making appearances throughout the series, even though the writers don't give the villains new angles to keep things fresh. Anyways, I can't really complain. I'd rather read about Electro for the third time without any difference than read about White Dragon. And yes, issues where big baddies like Green Goblin or Doc Ock is the main villain can feel like some big event, while issues with Grizzly or Man Mountain Marco or others like them can feel pretty much less important. Like I said, we see the growth of the characters throughout the series, and it is satisfying to see Flash's growth from being a regular bully to one of Pete's closest friends. Or MJ starting as a party girl who flirts with everyone to, a bitch. Okay, not to give spoilers, MJ really pissed me off near the end of my reading. She's definitely more interesting than Gwen for sure. Gwen felt like the classic normal girlfriend that any superhero has. I'm sure the reason she is loved by many fans is her death, but right at this moment I'm definitely not the biggest fan of Mary Jane Watson, though I know how great of a character she'll become later. And this might anger some people, but I think the first 30 issues or so of Lee and Ditko's run is pretty boring, with every issue feeling unimportant and uninteresting, villain of the week issues. A lot of main characters weren't even introduced yet, so it was pretty hard to get through those issues. Again, sorry. Yes, I know those issues created the Spider-Man legacy, and every other writer built upon them to create stories, and I'm so glad for that, but I gotta be honest, they were pretty boring. But like I said, that's just my opinion. Don't get offended by that. I didn't think team-up issues would be fun, since they would also feel like filler, but they were definitely a nice change of pace. A lot of colorful characters like Captain America, Human Torch, Nightcrawler, Nova and Punisher appear, and it is always fun to read how they interact with Spidey. So, a huge thumbs up for that. If I were to say who is Spidey's definitive tag team partner, I'd say for issues 1 to 100, Human Torch, and for issues 100 to 200, The Punisher. Both were great. By the way, I was shocked to discover that some obscure villains like Will-O-the-Wisp and the Gibbon were actually quite interesting. One gripe I have is that sometimes Peter really makes it obvious that he's Spider-Man, and both him and the other characters look super dumb. Oh, and I don't know exactly how many times J. Jonah Jameson was kidnapped, but it felt like he was getting kidnapped every 15 issues or so. Still, can't really complain since him and Spidey's dialogues are most of the time hilarious. Jonah yelling that the person who is behind the crime is secretly Spider-Man never gets old. I think at one point he even accuses him of being both Spider-Man and Doc Ock. The smart quips and jokes probably come after issue 150 or so, but it really depends on the writer.
Do you ever shut up? Sorry, no. My fans expect a certain amount of quippage in every battle.
The thing that I constantly loved was that Spider-Man always ruins Peter's life. It really feels like not just a gift, but also a curse. And Peter's struggle to want to stop being Spider-Man and at the same time not let his uncle down is just intriguing to read. Makes the character more vulnerable, relatable and interesting. I think that's about everything I had to say. It is still early to judge, but for me, was it better than Ultimate? I'd say no, but that might be because I am still young and maybe relate to the younger Peter more. But it was definitely a nice change of pace from the modern comics. These issues had heart and soul, unlike what Dan Slott is doing with the character right now. I wrote some issues for the viewers who want to read the series but don't want to spend their time with all of the issues. For me, these were the biggest. If I were to read some of the issues again, I'd definitely read these ones. I'll definitely keep reading the series, but first I have to catch up on other more recent series I've been reading. So I don't really know when I'll do the next video. But I guess I'll see you guys then. Stay awesome, or dare I say, amazing.
Not too shabby.